Bonsai, I'm the Cobra Kai Kid, and today I'm going to be reacting to an article from Inverse, and it's titled Cobra Kai Season 3 Ruins Karate Kid 2 for the Worst Possible Reason. Now, as you can tell from the title, this article is leaning more on the negative side, which is why I want to read it, because I found Cobra Kai Season 3 to be perfect. I found Cobra Kai as a whole to be perfect. So it's interesting to hear another perspective, and it's okay to have another perspective. It's okay to like something or not like something. You are free to do whatever you want. And we're here to give our opinions, and I'm going to give my opinions on this article. Doesn't mean I'm right, doesn't mean I'm wrong. It's just my opinion. It's my reaction to this. This person is right in their own opinion, and I'm right in mine. So let's read this article and see what this person has a problem with regarding Cobra Kai Season 3. Proving once again that nothing beats the power of nostalgia, Cobra Kai Season 3 premiered on Netflix in January and quickly climbed to the top of the streaming service's trending list. After Season 2 left on a major cliffhanger with the evil sensei John Kreese retaking control of Cobra Kai Dojo, Season 3 upped the ante by traveling to Japan. The truth is, the latest season of Cobra Kai makes a lot more sense if you've watched the source material, in this case The Karate Kid 2, but unfortunately the Netflix series takes what was always a totally okay 1980 sequel with fun but forgettable characters and ruins it for the sake of our white hero's soul-searching walkabout. I'm reading this article for the first time. You guys are getting my first reaction. And right away, this article is mentioning that Daniel is our white hero, which I don't really know why that would be mentioned here in this article. Is this article about story, or is this about something bigger than that? I'm not really sure. Let's keep reading. Karate Kid 2 picks up just minutes after the first movie's ending when Daniel wins the All Valley Karate Tournament. Skip to a few months later and Mr. Miyagi gets a letter from his hometown in Okinawa. His elderly father is dying, so Miyagi and Daniel head to Japan. On the way there, Miyagi expands on his already tragic backstory with even more depressing details about his past. Turns out Miyagi was forced to leave his village because he was in love with the girl betrothed to his rich best friend. That friend, Sato, was also trained in karate by Miyagi's dying father. Sato and his family got pissed off when Miyagi announced his wish to marry the fiancé. Things got really awkward and Miyagi had to skip town. At this point, it feels like Karate Kid 2 is piling on the misery. Miyagi's backstory in the first movie was already tragic enough. His beloved wife died in childbirth with their infant son in a Japanese internment camp while Miyagi was overseas fighting in a World War II. Message to screenwriters: more tragedy doesn't automatically mean a better story. Well, they weren't trying to go for tragedy, in my opinion. They were telling the story. That was part of the story, and that was the whole plot of Karate Kid Part 2, was that whole story with Yukie and Sato. So I don't think they were just trying to make it really tragic on Miyagi. I think that's just what it was. That was just a story. Miyagi and Daniel arrive in the village and reunite with Miyagi's love, Yukie. She never married Sato or anyone else. Naturally, Miyagi instantly falls back in love with her. Sure, people can have multiple romances in a lifetime, but there is literally no mention of Miyagi's deceased wife in this movie. Remember in the first movie when Miyagi held an anniversary ceremony for his wife, then got wasted? It was both moving and funny. Now it's like his wife never existed. But I mean, I don't really know how the wife would play a part in this story, because this is Yukie, his first love before his wife, and his wife was gone and now he's seeing Yukie. So why would there need to be a mention of the wife? Because she died and Yukie didn't know who she was. No one knew who she was except Miyagi. So where would Miyagi have mentioned that? Meanwhile, Daniel has a romance with Yukie's teenage niece, Komiko. The love story is certainly there. That's really all you can say, and it's a real waste of the gifted Tamil and Tamita. I thought Tamil and Tamita was great in that movie. Miyagi sees his father before he passes away, but his old frenemy Sato is still around and carrying a massive grudge. Sato also has his own lawless karate army in the form of his nephew Chosen, whom Sato has trained in violent murderous karate with weapons. Sato wants to fight Miyagi to the death to avenge his honor, and his psychotic nephew wants to kill Daniel for blank and giggles. They're both the expected obnoxiously over-the-top 80s film villains you'd expect. The pacifist Miyagi naturally wants to avoid a fight, but when Chosen turns up the murder dial, Miyagi decides it's time to get the hell out of town. Yukie begs Miyagi to take her with him. He never answers her, because Mr. Miyagi is a wild steed that can't be tamed. But Sato has another card to play. The village will be bulldozed to the ground if Miyagi refuses to fight him. Dude, how is this a good plan? Don't you and your nephew still live here too? This seems very poorly thought out. And yeah, I always wonder that too, because Sato and Chosen were probably hated among the village. So I guess it wasn't really a good move on their part, because they were going to be hated by anyone regardless. But at the same time, I guess Sato just wanted to fight Miyagi that bad. I don't know. Miyagi agrees to fight Sato, but a convenient typhoon rolls in, leading Miyagi to save Sato's life and Daniel rescuing a little girl. Sato becomes a good guy, tells Miyagi they're cool now, and the village throws a big celebration. Unfortunately, Chosen is still a psycho and threatens Komiko to get Daniel to fight him. Daniel, of course, defeats Chosen, but spares his life, which is where the movie ends. Karate Kid 2 isn't the worst movie sequel I've ever seen, but it's far from the best. Instead of expanding on the characters, it just piles the pathos on Miyagi. The villains are cartoonishly evil, shallow, and poorly motivated. The side characters are bland and underdeveloped. This brings us to the Karate Kid Netflix series, Cobra Kai. We were told this season would loop in Karate Kid 2 and it would be super important, but was it really? An adult Daniel LaRusso goes to Japan to secure a business deal with a car manufacturer to save his dying car dealership. He's been having an image problem in his town since there's an ongoing war between his karate dojo and Cobra Kai. Yes, you read that right. And now no one will do business with him. Well, it's more than that though. It's not just about there being an ongoing war between Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai. That sounds ridiculous, but if you look at what happened at the school fight with Daniel's student kicking Miguel off the balcony, that's what people are thinking about. That's why people aren't going to his business, because of what Daniel is teaching these kids to do. And sure, the story is getting mixed up wrong. Well, I mean, it is right, but at the same time, they don't know the whole story. They don't know that Daniel was trying to do the right thing. They don't know that Robbie's actually a good kid. It was an accident. But at the same time, people don't know that. People have that image, and that's the reason why they're not going to his car dealership. Not just because of Daniel and Johnny's warring karate rivalry. The car manufacturer turns him down, so to relieve his depression, Daniel decides to head to Okinawa and visit Mr. Miyagi's village, which is a mall now, and honestly, it's pretty depressing. Who does Daniel run into but his old girlfriend Komiko? You know, the girl he dated for a week when he was 18. Komiko tells Daniel that she became a professional dancer and traveled the world, but started teaching dance locally when she had to take care of her dying aunt Yukie, who never went to America with Miyagi. Kumiko never married. She got offers, but none of them fought to the death for her. Okay, I'm all for women being independent and not feeling pressure to marry, but I loathe the implication that a woman couldn't move on from a week-long teen romance. I also find it a little gross that Komiko and Yukie stayed hung up on their first loves while Miyagi and Daniel moved on and married other people. I feel my depression intensifying. Okay, so I don't think Komiko was into Daniel all that time, and that's why she never married anyone. The people that asked her just probably weren't good for her. She probably just didn't like them. And, you know, I don't think when she says none of them fought to the death for me, I don't think she was referring like to specifically like you were the only person I would marry. But there was no one who was as good for her as Daniel was. You know, it wasn't about it being Daniel. It was just someone who would fight to the death for her, or something like that. You know, I don't think she was just waiting for Daniel around. Next, we have to see what happened to Chosen. Wait, did anyone really ask for this? Did we need to see what happened to an insane but unmemorable bad guy? Apparently, yes. Well, a lot of people didn't know that we had to see what happened to Johnny Lawrence 30 years later, and sure enough, we did need to, because that was what resulted in Cobra Kai. So Chosen tells Daniel that he tried to kill himself after their fight, but his uncle Sato saved him. I really hope saving him means intensive therapy and a ton of medication. Like Komiko, Chosen is also alone with no family and a local job teaching karate. Keep the good feelings coming, Cobra Kai. Chosen and Daniel make up after they fight for Miyagi's family artifacts, and Chosen teaches Daniel a new move that paralyzes his opponent. They're friends now. Before Daniel leaves, Komiko reintroduces him to Yuna, the little girl he saved from the typhoon 30 years ago. She just happens to be senior vice president of sales at the car manufacturer who rejected Daniel. Yuna is going to give him the deal and save his company. Now, my uncle, actually, he watched season 3 and he had this same issue that Yuna, it was just such a coincidence that she just happened to be the senior vice president of sales at the car manufacturer who rejected Daniel. But as Komiko said, you do good things and good things happen. So it's like, it doesn't all have to be, there are so many coincidences in Cobra Kai. It's not just this. And like, is this a coincidence? Sure, but I would consider it more fate, Cobra Kai is a show about fate. If you look at like movies like Star Wars and Indiana Jones, it's about taking a leap of faith and the destiny. And this is what it's about. This is destiny. And I feel like it's a story. It's just do good things happen. And there's obviously going to be things that are very coincidental. Like Sam, out of all people, crashing into Johnny's car in episode 1. If Samantha LaRusso never crashed into Johnny Lawrence's car, there would be no Cobra Kai. The show wouldn't exist. Out of anyone in LA to crash into Johnny's car, it was Samantha LaRusso, Daniel LaRusso's daughter. Out of anyone. It could have been anyone, or they could have just not hit his car. They could have hit any car, but they hit his car. So that's one of the biggest coincidences of the show. But at the same time, though, it's destiny. It's fate. It all happens for a reason. So that's just my thought. I get how this person could see it as being a total coincidence, because it is, but I see it more as fate. Karate Kid 2 deserved better. Frankly, these Okinawa episodes are very pandering. It's clear the writers were desperate for an excuse to get these mediocre sequel characters on screen, and Daniel's business woes were the convenient plot line to accomplish it. These 2 episodes were important because Chosen teaches Daniel that karate move, a move that Daniel used to defeat John Kreese in the Cobra Kai Season 3 finale. But was it necessary? Daniel didn't need to go to Japan to learn this move. Creative storytelling could have found other avenues. But Okinawa is where Miyagi's lessons originated. That's where Miyagi's father taught him, and where Miyagi and Sato trained together, where Sato trained Chosen. So that's why those lessons, that's why the scrolls and all of that were in Okinawa. It seems like the only person who was alive and that knew it was Chosen. Chosen is like the last Miyagi-Do, other than Daniel, and Julie Pierce, but Julie wouldn't have known that. The last Miyagi-Do student, or at least the last one like tied into like the Okinawa and Sato and all that. So it seems like Chosen was the only one who knew that Miyagi secret. Sure, maybe someone else did, but I don't know if we're going to be going down that far, down that rabbit hole, but yeah, that's my opinion. Both Tamlin Tomita and Yuji Akamoto are accomplished actors. They certainly didn't need this gig, and it seems like a waste of time to bring them on for what is essentially a glorified cameo. Wow. We don't learn anything fundamentally new about their characters either. Anyone who's seen Karate Kid 3 knows Komiko became a dancer, and it's reiterated on the show. Chosen is an obvious allegory for people who deserve a second chance, but we don't know anything about how this change came about. He was a cipher in the movie, and he's a cipher on Cobra Kai. I disagree. I think, the story isn't about Chosen and Komiko. It's Cobra Kai. It's not, they're not going to focus a whole season on developing Chosen and Komiko. That wasn't the point of those episodes, because if they wanted to, they could make a Chosen Komiko spin-off series, which maybe they will, or maybe they'll do something else and tie them in. But these episodes were focused on Daniel. These were Daniel's episodes, and Komiko and Chosen were like the stepping stones to help Daniel. But along the way, we also got closure for the characters. They weren't supposed to be the focus, but seeing as they were big characters in Karate Kid Part 2, they were focuses for us diehard fans. But in terms of the story, you're not looking at the Cobra Kai storyline and thinking, wow, Chozen and Komiko like were like the main characters. No, they were what helped Daniel progress as a character. They were supposed to help Daniel progress, and Komiko helped Daniel with the letters, with Mr. Miyagi's letters. He needed that. He was down in the dumps. He felt like, with his car dealership, with Miyagi-Do closing down, everything was going wrong for him. He really needed that, to hear that letter of Mr. Miyagi saying that, like, Daniel's a son to him. Daniel gave him a family he never had. It was just beautiful. Chozen didn't just teach Daniel about a move, about the pressure point move. It wasn't just that. He taught Daniel that you can get a second chance in life. And with everything that's going on for Daniel feels like he wasted his chance. Like he can't do anything. But looking at Chozen, looking at what Chozen's done, Chozen has now picked his life back up. It's showing Daniel that he can pick his life back up too. And all we needed were these 2 episodes. I mean, would it have been cool to see more of Chozen and Komiko? Yes, I'm 100% on board. But that wasn't the plot of Cobra Kai Season 3. And with what we did get, it was great. And it was just enough. We didn't need to focus too much on Komiko and Chozen. Because when they were there, we got closure to their storylines. The story wasn't mainly about them. Cobra Kai is not focused on them. It's focused on Daniel and Johnny and these new students. And these other characters are helping progress them, but we're also getting closure on these characters. Like, we got closure on Komiko's character, which was great. We got closure on Chozen's character, and we got closure on Yuna, even though she was not very much a main character. It was still nice to have her return. And who's to say Chozen and Komiko can't return in the future? So maybe these criticisms that this person has will be resolved in future seasons. So we'll just have to wait and see. Cobra Kai is pure nostalgia, and that's okay, but it's annoying when the show feels it can't move on from the old days. This usually happens when a series starts dragging out every minor character that's ever appeared in the franchise to give them a whole story, regardless of whether the audience even remembers or cares about those characters in the first place. Well, everyone remembers Chozen and Komiko. If you watched Karate Kid movies, you knew them. It was very obvious, and then you saw them in the trailer. Everyone knew who these characters were, unless you weren't fan or if you haven't watched Karate Kid Part 2. And they didn't drag them out. They were only in 2 episodes. So they really, I don't know, I thought you were saying like they were underutilized in the beginning of this article, but now you're saying that they were dragged out. So I don't really understand that. That kind of contradicts each other, but I binged the entire Cobra Kai series in 3 days. It's 80s nostalgia, but it's become toxic nostalgia. Most of the original characters don't seem to have grown or learned anything. If there's even a hint of a step forward in character growth, it's usually 2 steps back a few minutes later. Karate Kid 2 was a mediocre movie, but Cobra Kai has made it feel downright depressing. Wow. Now, I have to disagree that the characters haven't grown or learned anything, and that they have to have grown and learned everything now, because we're only at the midway point of this series. The characters shouldn't be fully developed, and they shouldn't be fully knowledgeable about everything and fully grown, because then you can end the series. There's no point of going with the series if these characters are not growing anymore. These characters still need to grow, and I believe that each one has grown and is still growing. And there are setbacks to these characters. Bad stuff happens that makes it look like they're going back to their original self, but they are growing, and then they come back even better. So that's my take on this. This article has a very different perspective on the Karate Kid Part 2 and Cobra Kai Season 3 than me, but that's perfectly fine, and everyone's entitled to their opinions. But I just wanted to cover this and look at Cobra Kai from a more critical standpoint, because I am really not critical of the show. I love everything about this show. And sure, there's things that I would want to see from it, or, oh, I wish they did this, but I love the show, and I think everything about it is perfect. And I understand this article and some of the points presented in it, but I gave you my take. I have a different opinion, and that's okay. It's just I don't know. It's fun to read a different opinion, even if it's completely opposite of you. And that's what I wanted to do here. Make it interesting. I didn't want to read an article. Oh, Cobra Kai season 3 is amazing, because then there's no discussion. I like discussion. And yeah, so go check out this article from Inverse. You could check out their other stuff too. I think they have other Cobra Kai articles. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks guys for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications to never miss a video. Hit that like button and share the video with your fellow Cobras and Miyagi-Dos. I'll see you all next time on Cobra Kai Kid. And until then, remember, Cobra Kai never dies.